Hey everybody, hope you've been doing good. I know it's been a while like usual, but I always want to come back and make some cool computer videos and some weird, of course, computer videos as well. And that's kind of the theme of this channel for those that are returning or for new viewers. So today we have a computer that's kind of a combination of both. This is the quote unquote, air quote, newer 3647 socket. I say newer as in it's newer than X99, which is pretty available now and shows up a lot on AliExpress and stuff like that. The Chinese have kind of got their hands on it and are making very affordable single and dual socket X99 boards. Now, the socket after that will be this socket 3647, which doesn't really exist too much. There is a really nice Chinese branded AliExpress Workstation board, but that's still about $400 or so to buy. So case in point with this system here, this started out as me noticing a board called the Tyan S7106 on AliExpress for about $200. With a little bit of research, I have seen people, apparently, if you can believe it, online getting these boards for $100 or less, but that's probably American dollars, which with Canadian conversion, where I am in Canada, that is a little bit more. But anyway, long story short, I ended up seeing one of these boards listed on Facebook Marketplace, and I messaged the guy. He actually had two Xeon Platinum chips that were 250 watt TDP, which do not work in this board. It only supports up to the 205s. He also never had it running. And after I got it from him, he said that he bought it for a mining server and just never had it running. Who knows how long he had it sitting for. But ended up getting it for a very, very good deal. He said he also bought it off AliExpress. So long story short, I ended up turning this really crappy, I'm going to say it is a crappy board into a, it's not it's a crappy board, but it's a rack server board. It's not meant for a workstation. And I've turned it into a workstation. So that's what I'm going to show you guys all in this video today. So starting out with this, we have this very large Corsair case. Now, I don't actually know what model this is. Some of you viewers will probably see it and be like, oh, that's the Obsidian, yada, yada, yada. I don't really know what it is. I got this on a trade. It didn't cost me anything. I got it from a trade with actually a neighbor of mine. But it's a very large case, as we can see. It doesn't actually say it supports, it says it doesn't, god damn. It doesn't actually include support for the EATX board, but it does fit in here. The Tyan board is EATX. It's very straightforward how it goes into the system, sort of. Its actual mounting holes are EATX, but that's about where it ends. And its power supply does take an ATX or EATX power supply. On the front here, I have a fan controller. I'll get to that in a little bit when I turn the machine on. That's to control the fans, obviously, for the system, because the onboard fan controllers are really stupid on this and doesn't actually really allow you to do much with it, that I found. And I've just got a couple slot fillers here too, just a CD drive and an old tape drive, which aren't actually hooked up just because I don't actually have anything to fill up the two other slots for this. I used to have my hot swap bay in the front here, which takes up 3, and then I had a CD-ROM drive, but I'll show you in a second here. That's actually inside of the case. I do think this looks really cool. On the front, we have debatable if these actually work, but this case comes with 4 USBs and a USB 3.0, as well as a Firewire, and this really cool DJ station here that allows us to control either the front fan or some other fans if we really want. I just have it hooked up to the front. Another thing that I got, which is really cool with this pops open. You can mount your fans or a radiator in here. But what I actually have is if you can see that in there, those little white dots, it's actually a Razer keyboard. This is just some tape to cover up the empty holes in here. It's actually a broken Razer keyboard that makes a really cool starlight effect with this computer when it's running, and also blocking the top exhaust exit, which works really, really, really well. But it looks really cool, and that's what I was going for with this. We also have our side panel here. I'll show you that. There's a couple fans. You'll see that little green LED. Where is it there? Blinking right there. That just, it's always on. That's something to do with the remote management of this system. I haven't really figured that out what it does yet, but let me bring my light around here. I'm going to show you how this case opens. It's pretty cool, actually. We can just mount our phone, our camera here. There's those 2 latches. All you do with these is you just pop these down. The thing pops open. Whoa, and then we can see I forgot to undo this. That's the fan connector there, but luckily I put it on a simple disconnect. See if I can show you the panel here with these 2 fans wired into one for that exact reason when I forget to unplug it so it doesn't break and go flying. So let me bring my light around here now. I can show you what's going on in here. You'll be able to see the board. Let's try to angle this a little bit better. Be able to see the board. It's actually a pretty good angle here. I think I can actually see everything. Starting with, this is the hot swap bay here, which I've actually drilled a couple holes into the case. I put that down a little bit there. That's drilled a couple holes into the case. So these are really cool. This is actually a 4-port hot swap bay. You can see we can take our drives in and out of there. I have an SSD and actually a Western Digital Raptor bay adapter in the first one. That's the SSD. It's just a 240 SSD SanDisk that it runs. Moving from that, this uses a weird cable. Actually, here, let me zoom in here for you, even though I do like this angle. We'll come back to this in a second. That uses this really weird cable. Now, if we look up the manual for this board online, this is actually an OEM kind of stupefied version of this board. Well, it is kind of, it is. It's a really dumb version of this board. You'll see the main statement for that is that looking up here, we have only one of those mini SATA plugs. You can see beside it, those two are missing. And also here, our dual Ethernet are also missing as well. So this board doesn't actually come with Ethernet. These ports here are for an OCP Open Compute Project slot that we can plug an Ethernet cable. We got to put the card in first. But that will give us an Ethernet that can actually get us, I don't really know a lot about this, but I believe either 10 or 25 gigabit per second connection with that. I did a little bit of research, but those cards are all very expensive and I don't really care to buy one. So we have that. That's about the feature set that we lose on this. Oh, actually, there is another thing I want to mention. If we look to the, let me move my light here a little better for you. If we look to the side of our processor there, you'll see this custom VRM right where my finger is, right to the left of the CPU power socket. Those are actually custom VRMs that I built for this system because it does not come with VRMs for both of the processors. You see there's my second one too. They're both the same. I actually cut those off of a heatsink for an XW8600 workstation, filed it down and then drilled the holes and used a couple push pins from an old video card to connect it to the board with the thermal pads from another video card for whatever. I don't actually know if this board needs this. I'm guessing it would be used in a 1U server case, so it would be really screaming away in there. Oops. So I built those after benching this machine and touching those after some operation. They were not even warm to the touch, so I don't know if they actually needed it, but the system runs good, and I mean, it didn't take me too long to build them, so we went with that. Moving on to the cooler situation here, you see I got two chips. These are just the Xeon Silver for those of you who watch my Microsoft Project Olympus video. Those are the cool, actually, that's wrong. Those chips were from that Olympus system. I actually had a Xeon Gold processor that a friend gave me, which is an Intel Confidential Engineering sample, gold chip with the OcuLink, whatever you want to call it, connector, but that would not work in this board. The board would post and I would get memory errors. I did update the BIOS on this as well. You can find it on the website. It's very easy to do. The original BIOS version of this board did not come with the EFI shell, so I actually had to make a USB that would boot to the EFI shell and then install the update. It was a little bit of a pain, but it was fairly straightforward to do. It maybe took me about an hour sort of figure it all out. Wasn't the end of the world. But we do have this updated to the actual official Tyan BIOS instead of the stupid MITAC, whatever crap version that this came with. You can see there's the model number of the board now. A couple other things that I bought for this. I'll get to the costs of this in a second, but I have the 24-pin. All this takes to plug in is the 24-pin power connector right there. And then you'll see I have the yellow 8-pin connector for the CPU, and then the red 8-pin connector, which is a extender, because I'm using this 1060-watt Delta power supply that was out of a Lenovo D20, which is an older power supply, but it's really hefty. It works really well. And that the connections on those are really short, so I had to extend them. This actually has 10-pin, 12-pin, oh God, how do I say this properly? This has 10-pin connections for the CPUs, but they're just the same pin out as a standard 8. There's just two extra ones, an extra 12 and an extra ground, so we can just plug our extender cable into those and they work fine. Main issue with this board here now, gonna get to the worst part of this, is the PCI slot. Now, when you look up the board online, I didn't really know what I was doing here. Let me try to focus a little bit better, make this not jittery. When I looked at this board online, first thing you'll find is that it has these two PCI Express 24 slots, which is not a 16. You'll see I have a 16 riser in the bottom one there. These, from my understanding when I got the board, is that you needed to buy the Tyan riser, which splits the riser will mount in flat like this, and then my hand will be the video card mounted flat facing this direction, not straight out like Kung Fu Fighting Karate Chopper here. It mounts straight up, so I'm like, maybe if I get a case with a vertical mount, I can do this, but I don't have that, and I'm not spending $150 for a vertical mount and not cutting up a case that I don't actually even have in the first place to do that, because I wanted to keep this really cheap and not spend a lot of money on it. So I was this board was kind of being stupid, because it is stupid. And I thought, you know what? I saw a post online and somebody actually said, the card is compatible, the slot is compatible with the standard card. I plugged a network card in it, and I was able to boot from it on the Serve the Home forum site. And I said, you know what? Screw it. So the board I had just sitting out of the case, just mounted on my desk, whatever. I plugged a 9800 GT, my test card, right into the bottom slot, because the bottom slot is for only CPU, the first CPU. If you have one CPU in the CPU 0, or the only CPU socket, that's going to be the top one. If you only have one CPU plugged in here, then your bottom slot will be the one that works. So I plugged a video card into the bottom slot, and I actually had it post with the video BIOS and everything of the 9800 GT graphics card from like 2007. So I'm like, okay, you know what? This works. I'm happy. We're off to the races here. This is sweet. So I went ahead and ordered this riser cable, which it was on Amazon. This one was actually only 20 bucks. It was on sale. I would have gone with a different one, a right angle. I'm trying to get in here to see. This is a 1050 Ti that I got from a friend at work. Thank you, Jack, if you're watching my video. Which is perfect, because this, to mount a video. Another issue that we had with this was that because this is a rack server board, our second CPU is down here and our first one is up here. With a workstation board, our first CPU will be here and our second CPU will be at the top here. So the issue with that is that to run a long video card, well, the 1050 Ti is nice and short. It has no other power cables. To run a longer video card, we're going to run into the power supply here. You can even see with this, even with the riser cable extending it out, we're going to run right into that cooler and get in its way. So we don't really have a spot to do this. The only other way would be to maybe move the video card up to these two slots here. But then the issue I was having was that the cable will not wrap around. You can see it's pretty chunky due to the length of it and due to all the cables and everything, the connectors in there, plus the fact that I'm not using a right angle cable. It sticks down. You can see I've got probably about an inch of crap in the way there to get it to mount. That would be maybe the only way we could get this to work into a case, would be to use a different type of riser and really, really jam it into these first two slots. That would give us a long video card, and we would have just enough clearance to potentially clear this heatsink. And I'm just using, these are crappy heatsinks here. I'll get to those in a second, that I've actually changed the fans on them because they suck. And yeah, so long story short with this is I had to use this riser, and the only way I could get it to mount was down here. You see, it's nice and sturdy. It doesn't move around at all. I did have to make a custom bracket. You can see I used a couple of case standoffs there to extend this. And then if you look in the back, you'll see, I can't really point to it, but you'll see here, that's actually the back I don't know, let's call it the IO shield of the card. And then I've actually cut it off here. We'll go around here to the back, and I'll actually show you what I did. I actually custom built a connector for this. I doubt we're going to be able to see it. Oh, there we go. That works. So you can actually see what I did here is I actually used a Dell, like the IO slot, whatever you want to call it thing, and custom designed it so it works as almost like a retention pin bracket, and that screws in there and holds into it with the little screw that oh my God, I'm doing such a bad job of describing this. The little screw that the DVI cable plugs into, that all holds together, all bolts together, and it's very sturdy, which is what I was going for, because I really did not want this to be loose or to jiggle or to have any sort of issues, obviously, because I wanted it to work good. So that mounts, that works, it's sturdy. The cable goes in there. I'll see if I can get a bit better of an angle for you. Not really a whole lot to see there. I mean, it's kind of just really, that looks really blurry on my end, I'm not sure. That just mounted in there. There we go. The cable just kind of sits in. This is a nice cable, like I say, Amazon, thank you, $20. That's a pretty good shot there. It just mounts. My custom mount goes, and like I say, I'm gonna wiggle it again just for good measure. It's sturdy. It's not going anywhere. I thought if anything, I would have to get a vertical mount, like a little stand here for this, but it's good. Doesn't give me any issues. Last thing I'm gonna get to with this is the coolers. These coolers came with the board. They are a cool server, which my lawyers will be in touch for. I remember back in the day, they had a company called Cool Jag. So these are called Cool Server. I don't know if it's the same company. They also have a Jaguar on the fan. But yeah, those fans are a 60 millimeter, and they only start running at 5 volt, and they are very loud. So coupled with this board, where the fan control software is basically full tilt and screw off, you can't do anything. It was really painful to use. So what I did with these is I actually took it has a bracket like a C-shaped bracket. Let's see if I can move it around here. If you look really close, you can see the bottom of the bracket's intact with the one screw. There's one screw holding it in at the bottom there at this back corner. So what I did is I actually took the bracket off and I flattened it in my vise and opened up, instead of turning it from a C shape, I turned it into an L, and then I just screwed in with one screw the fan to it there, and that just mounted in, and it works, and it holds into the thing perfectly fine. So it worked really, really good. The other thing that I did too is if you look right here, you can see the metal bracket. I took actually a self-tapper screw long and I screwed it in because the bracket would actually fold forward. You can see the fan is flipped forward just a little bit. It's not exactly flush. So by putting that self-tapper screw in there, not blowing anything out, just to hold that bracket, make it a little cleaner, make sure the fan is butted up as good as I could get up against those coolers. So wouldn't recommend those coolers, but they came with the board and works pretty good. I'm running this is the same RAM that I bought. With the prices of RAM right now, this is insane to get memory for this machine. So I just borrowed some RAM out of my Olympus system, which I conveniently bought. I bought, that would have been 12, I believe that was 12 4 gig 2133R registered RAM for about $70 Canadian, said and done with shipping. So that's pretty good back in the day, because right now I'm seeing one 16 gig stick of this RAM for about $100, which is horrid. So I just used that RAM out of there. Don't even get me started on the prices of it right now. It's really bad. What I did want to mention with this board is that when I was running one CPU, this board would work with non-ECC RAM. So I was running one chip, one 3647 processor, the Xeon Silver, with a 8 gig stick of Kingston, no, it wasn't Kingston, sorry. It was G-Skill, no, that's wrong. Ripjaws 4 with a black heatsink. I was running it with one or two sticks of that. Normal RAM. This will run with normal desktop RAM, which is pretty cool. But like I say, now I'm using the server RAM because I have lots of sticks of it, and I actually traded that RAM for the board. So let's get down to the costs of this now, because I wanted to keep this super duper affordable. I mean, a lot of the stuff I had, I traded, whatever, but this is what I paid for it. So the board itself, I traded the guy I got it for nothing. A 250 watt power supply. It was just an OEM one, not even a Delta. It was like a Bestech or something crappy like that. Just out of like an HP server or something. I traded him a 250 watt power supply and the 16 gigs of, it was two 8 gig sticks of G-Skill, Ripjaws RAM, two 8 gig 2400 megahertz stick of RAM, which I got 32 gigs of that, and I paid about, let's say $50, $60 years ago for it. So I traded, I mean, it's worth more money now, but that's what I paid for it. And I traded him also a 256 gig SSD, which I got for, again, a trade free in a system. So realistically, the board cost me about $30, maybe, let's say 40, not even that much. Let's say the board cost me $40. The case I got for free. Case didn't cost me anything. The coolers came with the board included, those coolers are about $50 each, which I didn't pay anything for. This was the power supply was out of a Lenovo system, didn't pay anything for that. The graphics card, the 1050 Ti, I got from my buddy at work. Again, thank you, Jack, appreciate it, works great. The hot swap bay was out of another server that I've had, got that for free. Fan controller for free, fans for free. I did buy the 24-pin extender off of Amazon for $10. This red cable I bought, it actually came with a different extender that I bought for another computer that I built and sold, which was a nice red braided one, but it actually came with that extra 8-pin that I used in this system, which didn't cost me anything because I got that for a really good deal and it came with those as a bonus. So I bought the 24-pin, I bought the riser for $20 and the board. So let's say $40 for the board, $20 for the riser, that's $60, and the 24-pin for $10, so $70, that's with tax. I'm less than $100 on this board. I'm doing pretty good. I mean, the chips I had before, the RAM I had before, but what actually this cost me out of pocket was less than $100. It's pretty good, all things considered. I'm not going to complain. But what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to turn this thing on for you and show you the operation. I am missing the IO shield, but basically, what we do, bonk, power it on. I have this. You'll hear that's the full speed of the fan before the controllers kick in. I'm going to turn off the crazy LED. Got a nice fancy pants remote here. Going to turn that into purple, my favorite. And how I have this hooked up, another thing that I wanted to get at is come on you, Another thing I wanted to get at is the fact that this board doesn't have audio on it. So in order to get it to play audio, I'm actually stealing the audio from the HDMI. But if you saw around the back there, I actually had to custom cut the HDMI cable to fit into the freaking case because it's so tight. So basically what I'm doing is I'm running the DVI into this screen here, and then the HDMI, no, hold on, let me check. I forget what I'm actually doing for this. I'm running the HDMI into a VGA splitter and then stealing the audio from it. That goes into the one screen, and then I have the actual DVI going into a HDMI splitter that goes to the TV. That's really confusing. You'll see the board actually boot up here. Issue that I get with this, I'm not really sure why it does it, but the board will go in complete post. I'm actually here. You know what? I lied. We're actually going to reboot this, and I'll show you. The reset does work. You'll see it. You'll see the Razor keyboard on the top turns off and on. You'll see it says no signal. I'll show you here now because I was a little slow on that. The board will boot up just fine, and it boots up very quick. I do have it running in legacy mode. What I wanted to say, though, is that I have this strange issue with this board that it will boot. It might do it. You'll see it goes through the post screen. It'll see my chips and my 32 gigs of RAM in there. But then when it goes to load Windows, it will sit for 2 minutes and then not load. You'll see here, it might do it this time. See my cursor in the top left there. And then we just are greeted with this black screen. Sometimes the Windows screen will pop up right away. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 minutes. Apparently the last time I did it, it's going to take a while, and this time it might take the 2 minutes as well. So we'll see now. It's loading. I don't really know why. There's some setting that I haven't really figured out yet. I'm not really sure exactly why it does that, but here's it running. There's my fan controller plugged in. Keeps the correct time, uses a CMOS battery. You'll see this fan is running at 0 because that's my side one that I've actually unplugged here. But the machine is really quiet. I'll stick the camera in here and shut up for a second. And you can hear it's nice and quiet. With that fan controller, works really, really great. These chips are not using a lot of voltage, but they run very well. The idle on these is about 20 degrees with all the fans going. It runs really, really, really nice. So it's pretty cool. We can also turn this guy I was saying earlier, this little notch up here. This allows it to increase the speed. And you'll see that this case was never meant for EATX. You'll see if you look real close, you'll see that I don't actually have screws plugged into the end of the board, screwed in there, but the case actually fits perfectly with the EATX. You'll see I got about 1 inch of clearance there, right where that red cable is, and it connects quite nicely. So again, I'm not really sure. You'll see here, it still hasn't booted to Windows yet. Sometimes it does it really quick. When I got this board going, that SSD had Windows 7 on it. And every time that I booted up, it booted into Windows 7 right away. So I don't know if there's an issue with the BIOS, a setting that I haven't been able to configure correctly. I did play around in the BIOS a little bit, but I wasn't having much luck with it actually making a clear difference. Why can't you focus? God, just stay focused on the screen. Look at this thing. It's like drunk here, man. Oh my gosh. I don't know why it was having the issue with it booting into Windows, but let me put the camera down here. I'll do this in one take because I don't really care. I'm gonna mount my panel back on here. On the side actually, so you can see that work. Hopefully it doesn't give me any issues when I plug the fans back in. Probably shouldn't do this when the machine's running, but you'll see I have the connector here. So when I plug this in here, my fan controller will hopefully connect. Let's do this the right way. This is kind of really sketchy. This is also a HP fan, so please don't electrocute me. Thank you. There's our other 2 fans. They'll probably go to the full speed until the fan controller identifies what's going on. Oh, there's my Windows screen just popped up. So now it's actually going to load into Windows. Thank you very much. You'll see here my fan controller has seen that 4th fan, and we can actually, this is pretty cool. So we can actually press fan select, right? Go down there. Oops. Sometimes it's a little bit stupid. As we can see right now, it's gonna like just not actually do that. We'll give it a second. But we've booted into Windows, so I have my dual screens here now running. Don't have a whole lot of stuff installed on this. I did do a pass mark on it. It does work really good. I'll just open hardware monitor so you can see what our temperatures are. My side fan is being kind of fast this time apparently. Usually it works pretty good, but I did plug it in when it was running, so it probably didn't like that very much. You'll see here our board will show up. There we go, our Tyan board. See our utilization with everything, all our voltages, our temperatures. There's our Xeon. Again, idling 25 there for the first one. Here's the second one, idling 20. Pretty good. And our turbo on this works. Oh, look at that. It's apparently our turbo speed on this is 752,000 gigahertz, which is pretty cool. It overclocks pretty good. Oh, and it looks like I'm getting pretty good performance on it, actually. It looks like I'm getting about just shy of 1 million on a couple of the cores. And then this guy only goes to about 25,000. So the turbo speed on this is pretty good. You get pretty good clocks with this board. I think yeah, both chips I get are not full core sustained at the 752,000 megahertz. Oh, I guess we get a different background. Thanks, Windows. But it does pretty good. You'll see the idle speed is a little, it does warm up a little bit when you're hitting close to 1 million gigahertz. But it runs pretty good. It's pretty cool on here. It's a nice system. I like it. There's my 1050 Ti there, my SSD plugged in. Like I say, it's not like a super insane system, but we do also have the wireless card. You saw it on there. It's not actually plugged in. Actually, no, I lied. There's actually, I'll get to that in a second. This board has USB 2 installed on it, so I'm actually using right there is a USB splitter that splits into 4 with my keyboard, my mouse, my USB, and then my floppy disk, which actually works on this as well. And I'm using a USB Wi-Fi adapter that is also plugged in there, and then the antenna goes up on top of these Hot Wheels, and it's actually hiding. I did such a good job of hiding it. It's actually in behind that Hot Wheels Team Transport there. Oh, never mind. There it is right there. Nice job. And that gets me the Wi-Fi. We do have USB 2 on the board, so I have these 2 USBs work, and then there's actually a USB 3 connector as well that just plugs in with a standard USB, so I have that plugged in as well. So I have a single USB 3 port, and then I have a USB 2, 2 of them on there as well. So we're actually able to plug in stuff to the front of this, which works pretty well. So it's a nice system. I like it. It works good. Like I say, this cost me less than $100. For you to build it, I don't know if I would recommend this board. I have to say it is kind of stupid. It's not exactly the best board, but I mean, to realistically get this board for about $100, case, you could use whatever case, whatever power supply. It doesn't need anything crazy for a power supply. It is buildable. Main thing you'll need is the GPU riser and to be careful with it. But said and done, it works pretty good. I'm actually going to reboot it here now because that fan on the side is loud. And I just wanted to show everybody how nicely it runs when it's not running at full tilt there. It's strange because you can see it says 2200, but it doesn't show me the bar. Probably because when I plug this in. But this little NZXT controller is pretty good. You see there's oh, no, you don't get to see it again. My keyboard. That I have it to do a starlight effect, but every time I switch this case around, I change it up, so it doesn't exactly work. You see here, I'm going to turn this guy off there. There's our keyboard lighting up. I'll turn this guy off and then back on, and you'll see how nice and quiet it actually runs with the fan controller properly doing its job. Something I don't like with this is this monster. I got these for $1 from Walmart in the States, but they are stupid, and it keeps resetting. So you'll see here now, it should actually remember my settings. If not, we can go and turn it down. We'll see this time if it actually posts in the windows nice and quick, because it usually does, but apparently not as much. See, now I can actually set this. Apparently it reset its settings. So we'll put it to 1500, and you'll hear it there go down. Let's see if this is going to boot into Windows this time quickly. If not, that'll be the video. Wait till those fans spool down. There's my cursor at the top left. You see it there. And will we get the fast Windows boot this time? Apparently not. So I still have to figure out why it's doing that. But, I mean, for all intents and purposes, this machine runs really well. It's nice and quiet. You'll hear my fans there spooling down now with the fan controller actually working. It's a nice system. I like it. Didn't cost me much, and it's a cheap way to get a lot of power and have a pretty cool workstation. I have to say this. I was going to build this for my girlfriend, but it's definitely a very niche kind of quirky system. But it's perfect for my basement as a workstation. So I really like it. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Any questions with this weird board or setup or anything, feel free to mention in the comments. And I hope you all have a great day. Thanks for watching.